What's going on, guys? Today's video is going to be a video on how to wash your ski. This is obviously going to be a fairly basic video, but for a lot of new owners, this is something you should really pay attention to, because there are a lot of compatible or incompatible cleaners that can cause damage to your acrylic finish on your ski. And of course, there's also a lot of people that want to know how you can prolong the life of your plastics, because it is no secret that the black plastics on these things fade very quickly. They'll turn yellow, or white. They fade, and once they fade like that, it's very hard to bring them back to life. So I'm going to show you what I do to wash my skis and make them look basically brand new for as long as possible. Now, of course, there's plenty of ways you can do this. There's plenty of different chemicals you can use. There's plenty of different washes, plenty of different techniques. I've tried plenty over the years, and these are kind of what works best for me. So I'll just go show you what they are. So we have the Meguiar's boat wash here. It's very safe to use on these things. They're compatible with the plastics, the acrylic, the exposed fiberglass sections. You cannot go wrong with this stuff. Standard car wash will also work, but this is just, has a nice scent. I like it. This is what works for me. And of course, we have just a regular old wash mitt, nothing special there. We also have our drying towel. Now, you want to try to do this not directly in the sun, because when the water dries up, it's going to leave water spots. It's not the end of the world, but if you can dry it sooner, that's what you want to use. So we just have a drying towel here. We also have 303 aerospace. Now, this is a UV protection layer that you're going to spray on the black plastics when we're done washing the ski and everything is dry. And this is going to give it that rich, glossy, new look, but it's also going to put that UV protection layer on there. That way, sun exposure and stuff is not going to fade it as quickly. Actually, you can kind of see, so this ski does sit with a cover on it, but you can see we have the black plastic here, which looks basically new, and then we have the sponson, which I never really treat, unfortunately, and you can see this is turning white. There's nothing you can do to fix this. You can treat it, but it's not going to do anything. Once it's faded, once the plastics are faded, there's not much you can do to bring them back. Anything you put on top, like trim black, trim restore, it's all only going to be temporary, unfortunately. So the best thing you could do is try to treat your ski as much as you can as you have it. The next part is the ceramic spray. Now, this is the Turtle Wax, I believe, hybrid solution spray. And this is kind of a synthetic wax polymer. It's not wax, it's a hybrid ceramic, so it's a silicate. And this can realistically get sprayed on everything. You can even use this on the plastics if you wanted to, but it does not have a UV protection layer. That's why I'm going to be using the 303 aerospace on the black plastic, but this can be used on everything else. So I'm going to use this on the acrylic, all the colors. I'm going to use it on the colored plastics in the front. I'll show you about that shortly. And then I have the Better boat erasers, and this is going to be used for any kind of scuffs or marks that we have on the fiberglass, mainly on the lower section. So I don't know if I have any here yet. Yeah, some scuffs here. So these spots here, these are going to come off with that boat eraser. It's almost like a magic eraser, but it's not as abrasive, so you don't have to worry about it causing any damage. But that's pretty much it. The last piece I have is this stick pump, and this is just so, when you wash your ski, you're always going to have some water in here. Again, there's always 100 different methods. Anytime you say you do something one way, someone else has to comment and say that's wrong, they do it their way. Yes, you can take a sponge and push out all the water out. You can also lift the ski to try to get most of it out, but I prefer to use a stick pump. You basically just stick a pump right here, turn it on, and it'll pump out the water. I'll show you what that looks like, and if you guys are interested, of course, I'll link all these things in the description. But the first things first, let's go ahead and we'll get the soap in the bucket here, and we'll get the ski all wet and start to soap it down. Alright, before we soap up, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the scuff marks we have all over on the bottom here with our boat eraser. You can see, just like that, all the scuff marks are gone. So very, very simple. I'm going to go on the other side and see if I have any over there. Alright, you can see we have a scuff here, and it also looks like a couple up here. And these are basically just from the bumpers, or even sitting at the dock. Things kind of hitting in there. Well, let's see it well. Alright, you can see how well that worked. All the scuffs in this section are gone. There was one up here that I took off as well. And of course we had the front where the bumpers were hitting on the dock, or when I was pulling the ski up on the trailer. So all of the scuff marks on the bottom are taken care of. So let's go ahead and move on to soaping. Once we have the ski all soaked up, we can go ahead and just rinse it off. We're obviously going to get a lot of soap in the footwells, and that's perfectly fine. We just want to get all the soap off the top. And by the way, if you're doing this in the direct sunlight, I highly recommend that you keep the ski wet. So if you are soaping it, I would take a break every once in a while just to get the ski wet again. Otherwise, all the soap is going to dry up and it's going to leave hard spots that are kind of difficult to get off. Show you how easy it is to get the soap water out of here. We'll stick the stick pump in, turn it on, and it'll just pump out the water. Now there's a lot of soap in here, so we may have to do a rinse or two, but this makes it pretty easy. And of course you could also just do the sponge, but I prefer to do it this way because if you shoot it with the sponge, all you do is spread all the soap back there and you got to keep on rinsing it. So this just makes it pretty easy. With it running dry, we could just go ahead and rinse off the extra soap that's in here and let the pump take care of it for us. And just like that, you see all the water is gone. So take this out and we'll just drain the pump. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Footwells are drained and completely rid of soap. So all we need to do is go ahead and dry everything now. So if you don't really care too much about water spots, you obviously don't have to dry it. But just so you know, anything that's left like this, especially if it's out in the sun, you will have water spots and they're very difficult to get rid of. So you definitely want to dry it off if you want to try to minimize that. Alright, now that the ski is dried off, it's generally best to kind of just let it air dry because you're always going to have a little bit of extra water dripping along. You see here, just like it's under the seats. So I'll probably dry that up. I'm going to let this air dry out in the sun for a little bit and then we'll move on to the next step. Next, we're going to go ahead and use our 303 aerospace on all of the black trim pieces. So this stuff is very, very easy to use. Really just kind of spray it on and wipe it off, and you can see it leaves a very, very nice rich black protective layer there. Go ahead and do the other side. I'm going to use the 303 on this piece. I don't really bother too much with the black trim in here, but you absolutely can do that if you want to. But I will be hitting the black trim up here all around the steering. absolutely the speaker pods, our mooring cleats, and of course all the blacks in the back here. So our handles for the passenger seat, the rear bumpers, the rear cleat, and I'm going to try to hit the deck as well. So I'll go ahead and knock that out and I'll show you what it looks like. The 303 treatment is finished, and you can see it turned out absolutely incredible. Of course, I hit all the blacks up here. Looks very rich and new. This is a 2024, so it's not too bad, but you can see the speakers turned out great. Cleats turned out great. We have our rear bumpers here. They turned out wonderful as well. Now, I do want to mention, some people say that if you have black faded plastics, one of the tricks that you can do is to hit it with a blowtorch, and that will make it look new again. And yes, I do have to say that will work, but it's only temporary. And one of the cautions I have to give is that when you do that, you're actually going to make it a lot worse. It makes the plastic brittle because you are burning off all of the oils that are inside. So once you do that, essentially you're just burning off the oxidized layer, but in the process you're also burning off the oils. And once that revitalized finish wears away, which it will, you're going to be left with a very, very white finish, very soft finish that cannot be fixed. It's not porous anymore, it's almost flat. And of course the plastic is brittle, so once it gets exposed to the sun over time, it will crack. So if you hear about the blowtorch method, people say that it works. Yes, it does work, but only temporary. I can assure you that anybody that has done the blowtorch method was quite disappointed when they found out that after so many months or even a year or two later, the plastic just looks significantly worse. So the only real way to treat faded black plastic is permanently is to use trim paint. But at that, the best thing you could do, of course, is just kind of treat it with UV protectant. I use 303, but there's plenty of other UV protectant materials out there. So we're finished there. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and hit all of the fiberglass / acrylic and the colored plastics with the Hybrid Solutions hybrid ceramic spray. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started on that. Is all set. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but that Hybrid Solutions kind of ceramic spray is basically just a water repellent. It's a very, very good water repellent. I've watched a YouTube video on it before, and it goes up, stacks pretty close to some of the professional stuff, so absolutely worth it. But you can just see the shine on this thing, and keep in mind this is a almost 2-year-old ski, and it looks absolutely fantastic for a ski that's kept outside. But yeah, just look how rich black that looks. And that's just from using 303 aerospace every time I store it. But you can see, absolutely incredible wash. So that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Of course, I'll post what I use in the description. I get a lot of people to ask what I use, so I try to make it a habit of posting the links in the description. But that's it for this one. If you guys have any questions, let me know.